What's up guys, welcome to the Chess Giant. This is Solomon Ordell, and in today's video we're going to be covering the Ponziani Opening and specifically how to fight against the Leonhardt Variation, one of Black's strongest responses against the Ponziani, and I thought we'd make this video so that y'all could be ready for whatever comes your way. The opening itself starts off with e4, and following e5 we play knight f3 attacking that centralized pawn, and following the move knight c6, white has so many good chess opening options here. I mean, we could go with bishop c4 with the Giuoco Piano or Italian game. We could play bishop b5 with Ruy Lopez, Scotch Game or Scotch Gambit, Jaenisch Variation. There's a ton of good choices here, but there's a very rare but underrated chess opening option with c3. The Ponziani Opening. I absolutely love this option for white, preparing a d4 push. And one of the most popular options for black is d5. And I totally understand why. Black is trying to fight for the center of the board immediately. And it may be easy for white to take this pawn on d5. But following queen takes d5, bishop g4, and castling queenside, I simply think that black is much better there. With the space advantage right in the center of the board, activity of the pieces, and an advantage in development. We could also play moves defending the pawn on e4, like d3, bishop d3, or queen c2, but I think all of these moves are too passive. I think much better is queen a4. Remember, when playing the Ponziani against the move d5, play queen a4. The whole point of this move is to both pin the knight on c6, which threatens knight takes e5, while also defending that pawn on e4. Now, in our first ever Ponziani opening video, we covered 3 different moves. Black taking the pawn on e4, black playing bishop d7, and black playing f6, defending that pawn on e5. But one option that I did not go over was the move knight f6. This is so rarely played that I actually missed it, but this is actually a pretty good chess opening choice for black with the Lionheart Variation, and white can get into trouble very quickly if not prepared. So again, I thought I'd make this video to show y'all how to play against this move. Here we're going to play knight takes e5. Now both our knight and our queen are attacking that knight on c6, and here the best move for black, and it's not even close, is bishop d6, in which case we're going to take that knight on c6, and following b takes c6, I think white's best choice is d3, defending the pawn on e4. It may be easy to take that pawn on c6, but following bishop d7 and queen a6, black now has knight takes e4, and yes, we're still up a pawn in this game, but black just has too much activity here. Black has a knight right in the center of the board, currently attacking 8 different squares, and on top of that, both the bishop on d6 and d7 are putting some real pressure on the king side of the board. If we play a move like bishop e2, simply wanting to castle kingside, black could play a move like queen f6, threatening to take on f2. So if we play bishop f3, black can simply castle. Black wants to bring a rook to e8, gaining vision on our king, and if castling kingside is ever played, black always has this bishop takes 2 check idea, and the very next move, black is going to win our queen. We have ourselves a resignable position as white. So again, guys, do not take this pawn on c6. I think much better are the moves d3, and following a move like castling kingside, playing bishop e2, and if rook e8, playing knight d2. Notice how we played d3, knight d2, and queen a4. All of these moves are natural developmental moves while also defending the pawn on e4. If a move like queen e7, we could play a move like f3, but I think that a move like f3 really makes our dark squares too weak, specifically e3, f4, g3, h4. Black is going to get some real attacking chances on the king side of the board here, and it makes our position pretty awkward, especially the bishop on e2, which then would really just be a tall pawn. I think better is castling kingside, and against this move, I think black's best option is probably bishop d7, simply defending the pawn on c6. I know some of you are probably wondering, why can't black just take the pawn on e4? I mean, going a move back, black currently has 1, 2, 3, 4 attacking pieces, while white only has 3 defending. Well, it's totally true that black can win this pawn, but here we're simply going to take back, and after knight takes e4, d takes c4, and queen takes e4, we're going to continue to trade down, and now we're sitting at even material, but have this idea of bishop f3, attacking the rook. And now, as y'all can see, black has isolated and double isolated pawns on the queen side of the board. We're attacking the rook, and if the rook doesn't go to c4, we're simply going to win our pawn right back. We're going to continue to trade down here, and in this position, we have an endgame, but black has an isolated and double isolated pawns, and on top of that, we can now play bishop f3, attacking the rook. If the rook goes anywhere besides c4, we're simply going to win that pawn on c6, and following rook c4, as y'all can see, this rook is pretty awkwardly placed. We can simply play bishop d2, defending the pawn on c3, supporting this b3 push. If a move like rook h4, which by the way, besides rook c5 is black's only real choice here, we can then play g3, again kicking the rook around. And if rook c5, we can now play c4. In this position, I think that white is simply better. We have a very strong bishop on f3, putting a ton of pressure on this c6 pawn. We have a strong bishop on d2 that can come to either e3, c3, or b4 on a moment's notice. We can continue to play natural chess with bringing our rooks to e1 and d1, and on top of that, black's position is pretty awkward. This rook on c5 is very uncomfortable, and black has weak pawn structure with double isolated pawns and an isolated pawn on a7. I think white has a much better endgame here. So going back to the original position, we're totally okay with black taking this pawn, evening out the material, but then going into a very awkward endgame with double isolated pawns on c6 and c7, not to mention that isolated pawn on a7. I think better here is black keeping the attacking chances with bishop d7, in which case we can now simply play rook e1. Again, same idea as before. If black wants to take this pawn on e4, we're completely okay with that. After rook a b8, we can simply continue with bishop f3. Now we have 5 defenders defending the pawn on e4, and if a move like queen e5 is played here, it may seem as if white is in a little bit of trouble. I mean, black has a very active bishop pair attacking the king side of the board, and a battery ram on the b8 h2 diagonal, currently threatening queen takes h2, but here we're completely okay. Following g3, black has to be careful not to play a move like h5, which in most cases would be very good, looking to play h4, breaking this game open. But now we have d4, attacking this queen on e5. If a move like queen e6, we play e5, attacking both the bishop and the knight here. Following a move like bishop f8, we actually can't take the knight because of queen takes e1, capturing our rook, but here we can simply play rook e2. And following a move like knight h7, we can continue with something like h4, bishop g2, knight f1. Here we're simply up a pawn, have very nice pawn structure, forming a chain from b2 to e5. Black's attacking chances are dwindling, and I like white's game here. As I mentioned before, a move like h5, even though this may look good, does not work because of d4 followed by e5. I think better here for black is knight g4, but even then, we're simply going to bring our queen back to d1, both our queen and our bishop now attacking the knight on g4, and following queen h5, play knight f1. Now yes, black does have an attacking position here, but these attacking chances are dwindling every move we play. We have a queen and bishop pinning the knight on g4, a bishop on c1 really cutting through this diagonal, which is making things hard for black, a knight on f1 holding the game together. We can continue to play good defensive chess here. We're up a pawn, and I think that black simply doesn't have enough firepower to get that pawn back. I love white's chances here. If you'd like to learn more on the theory behind the Ponziani opening, click the video to the left. If you'd like to learn more about the hippopotamus defense, a fun and strong chess opening for black, click the video to the right. Leave a comment to let me know what other videos you'd like to see covered on this channel. And as always, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. Peace.